I don't know that you need this background information, but I come from an hurtful childhood home, but almost didn't recognize how bad it was. I went to an Ivy League college and was always a high achiever, but got very into musical theater dance during college and decided to live at home after college to pursue dance more seriously, just to show that I wasn't being totally financially insane. I wasn't expecting to immediately have to pay rent, have a ton of bills. I had a full-time job, was taking dance classes, etc. Then, there was a physical incident from my father while I was living at home, so I quickly moved out. This definitely started a bit of a cycle of insanity for me. I was enrolled to get my master's degree in performance, so I did everything I could to make ends meet, tutored, worked weekends, etc. But it definitely set off a cycle of hustling nonstop and never quite being financially stable. I've been with my now husband since I was 20 years old. He has known about my dancer aspirations/dreams forever. He was always very focused on getting a job and making money, and was able to do so right away. He's an excellent speaker and very much a dominant male personality in the workplace. I am shyer, more self-conscious, and a sensitive artistic type. We did very well together, though, for many years. Due to my husband's hard work and personality, he rose in the workplace very quickly. He now has an executive-level job and makes very good money, $350,000. I am very accomplished. I have danced all over the world, have danced with as a swing in Broadway ensembles, in Lincoln Center, had a Fulbright scholarship, etc. However, I am definitely slowing down, unsurprisingly. Also, it's very feast or famine at times. I make good money for my dancing, but sometimes the gigs are very scarce. I take any gig I can, as long as it pays decently, so I work very hard, often commuting up and down the East Coast, going where the work is. Because of the feast or famine lifestyle, I have to supplement with teaching or other types of admin work. I only make about $65,000. I also went back to my scholarly roots in my late 20s and am earning a doctorate in an arts-related field, trying to be vague for privacy reasons. I should finish my PhD by this spring, hopefully. My schedule is always very insane. I am always taking tons of gigs, traveling, working as a teacher at times to make ends meet, teaching classes. Just needless to say, I don't think I'm a lazy person. That's a very long preamble to say, my husband has an issue with how much money I earn, and that I have not been able to contribute in a significant way to our lifestyle. I am fine living humbly and have always been that way. I always used to live very cheaply with multiple roommates. But my husband prefers a higher type of lifestyle. We currently have an apartment in the city and a house about 2 hours away. I would prefer to cut back and just have an apartment, and preferably a smaller apartment. We currently live in a luxury type 2-bedroom. But my husband gets very angry when I suggest this. My husband is financially smart, but he definitely overspends. He has a fancy car, top-of-the-line technology, etc. Therefore, he often complains about being low on money, which worries me. He doesn't ask me to contribute to rent, but he does not give me money otherwise. I live off and pay my bills with my own earnings. I also save a decent bit since I do not pay rent. However, my husband often denigrates what I do. He often refers to me as not having a job and expects me to do all housework, cooking, caring for our pets, etc. I do the best I can, but I definitely let things slip in terms of cleanliness or having meals prepared. Any sort of domestic task falls to me, which can be difficult with the craziness of my schedule. He also keeps pushing me to stop dancing and go into a more corporate profession. The thing is, he's not totally wrong. I know my years as a dancer are going to be over fairly soon, but it seems as though the only focus is money. He always complains that I do not make enough money, and I need to be improving my earning power. He also often cites my scholarly nature and my Ivy League degree to complain about how much money I earn, saying I could be earning way more. The thing is, I have been applying for jobs for almost 2 years in alternate fields, and I cannot get a job due to my background. They see the years of academia, scholarships, fellowships, etc., and get spooked. I often get to the final rounds of interviews, but they hire someone younger or who has less experience than me. I assume because they think I'd be troublesome in the workplace. I'm actually quite a good worker and a docile personality, so I think I'd do a great job in a more corporate workplace. Tonight we got in another huge fight because I said I was concerned about our property outside of the city. For the last 2 summers, I have been helping to rent it as a summer vacation rental property and do all the cleaning of sheets, repairs, communicating with guests, etc. I said I was concerned with all my commitments this spring, summer, including some gigs out of town, that I would have trouble running it myself. The way he denigrated me was extremely upsetting and shocking. He told me I had no idea how real life worked, and that I'd been messing around as a dancer for years and pretending my job was important, when his was 3 times as important, and he was carrying more responsibility at his job than I could ever imagine. He said I was lazy, directionless, and irresponsible. He kept repeating, if you'd just get a job and actually make some money. And when I tried to point out I did have a job, I actually have a 25-hour-a-week job at the moment at a school. And then I supplement with many performances, gigs/workshops, etc. He said what I was doing did not count as a real job. He told me to go try and live on my own for a while and see how I liked it, and that I was dragging him down by constantly suggesting we cut back financially. He said I had no right to complain about any domestic tasks or the rental property because he pays for everything. I feel this was a reaction to me potentially not wanting to run the rental property for him. But I'm not totally surprised either by this reaction. He makes small, snide comments about if you ever got an actual job often, and in other arguments has portrayed me as all but unemployed. I know I do not make good money, but I also don't ask to live the extravagant lifestyle we live. I feel extremely hopeless about the situation because I have been applying to other jobs. The thing is, even if I got a great new job tomorrow, I would not be earning anywhere near as much as he does. So, does that mean I will never get an opinion or say in where we live or how our lifestyle runs? I should mention that we have moved twice for his job, and that I had pretty steady employment in those previous cities, and having to try to build a new community as a teacher, dancer, etc. is often difficult, but I do try. If I had stayed in NYC, where I lived in my 20s, I can almost guarantee I would have had much higher earning power. I can only take gigs down there now and then, and all freelance, not the regular contracts I used to take. I feel I cannot get him to see my side, nor does he see anything wrong with what he said to me. He told me someone needs to tell me the truth so I can get my shoot together. How can I approach this conversation so that he takes me seriously? I also wish he would stop making fun of me for being unemployed when it's been very demoralizing being unable to get a regular, steady job outside of dance. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Jesus. I'm sorry, I can't imagine treating my wife like that. I'll probably make about 4 or 5 times what my wife does this year. I would never bring it up or make her feel less than. I would feel like a complete piece of shit if I made her think that I didn't value her labor. My wife doesn't make much, so her money is hers and I pay all the bills. She gives me some rent money sometimes, but also has a credit card that I pay for if she needs something. Your husband makes $350,000 and he still thinks about money? He's piss poor with money management or living beyond his means. I don't have much advice for you other than he sounds like a total jerk. Comment 2. Your husband is a jerk whose entire sense of self appears to come from money. He seems to want to play the rich man but doesn't actually make enough, which is pretty pathetic. I wonder what his savings and retirement accounts look like. You guys aren't compatible, that's clear. You should divorce him and go live the more chill life you deserve, where your oaf of a husband isn't hanging income over your head like a financial sword of Damocles. P.S. Take him to the cleaners in the divorce and get as much alimony as you can. Think of it as compensation for all your years of unpaid labor cleaning and cooking if you feel uneasy about that. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, the other day, I thought things couldn't get worse, but they did. My husband, out of nowhere, decided to buy another car, a vintage sports car that cost a small fortune. He didn't even discuss it with me. I just came home to find it parked in our driveway, gleaming under the sunset like some trophy. When I asked why he would make such a big purchase without talking to me, He just shrugged and said, "Because I can." It felt like a slap in the face, considering our recent arguments about money. Then, as if that wasn't enough, I got a call from the school where I work part-time. They're cutting back on staff, and guess who's first on the chopping block? Yep, me. They said it was nothing personal, just budget cuts. But it felt personal. It felt like the universe was conspiring against me. I haven't told my husband yet. I can't bear to hear the "I told you so" or the lecture about getting a real job. But wait, there's more. Remember the rental property I mentioned? Well, it got trashed by the last renters. Broken furniture, stained carpets, the works. It's going to cost a fortune to fix. And guess who's expected to handle it? Me, of course. I spent days cleaning and trying to repair what I could, but it's clear we'll need professionals to deal with some of it. When I brought this up to my husband, he just said, "Figure it out," and went back to admiring his new car. Amid all this, I got an offer for a dance gig overseas. It's a great opportunity, but it means I'd be away for a couple of months. I was excited until my husband dismissed it as a little trip and said it wouldn't make a dent in our finances. He wants me to stay and deal with the rental property instead. I feel trapped, like my dreams are slipping through my fingers while I'm stuck cleaning up messes, literally and figuratively. And then, as if things couldn't get any more complicated, my husband's ex-girlfriend showed up. She's going through a tough time, and apparently he's the only one who can help her. I found them laughing over old times in our living room. When I walked in, the room went silent. She looked at me with pity, and he looked annoyed that I'd interrupted. It's clear she still has feelings for him, and I can't help but wonder if he feels the same. I'm trying to hold it together, but it's hard. Every day feels like a test I'm failing. I'm juggling too many balls, and they're all about to come crashing down. I want to scream, to run away, to take that dance gig and leave all this behind, but I can't. I'm stuck in this cycle, and I don't know how to break free. Thanks for reading. My boyfriend rejects me every time I try to be intimate, but prefers watching porn. So I caught him cheating and left him to rot with his affair partner while I rebuilt my life better without him. So we live separately right now, but we see each other all the time, and I'm over there often. We've been together for 2 years. I love this man. He makes me laugh, smile, and treats me well. Except our intimate contact sucks. We kiss often, but it's just a smooch. And if I try to go for more, he pulls away. We cuddle, but anytime I try to initiate anything, I'm pushed away. I always get told, "Oh, I'm tired," or "Oh, I don't want to." We have tried talking about it multiple times, and I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. We have intimacy maybe once every 4 months, when he decides to roll over in the night and wants some. And I'm not in the super mood, but I'm so desperate for any contact between us that I never say no to him, even though there have been times he's hurt me, because I'm just not physically in the mood. It's not as good as if I were stimulated or in the mood as well. I've said this has got to change, and his excuse is he's just not very intimacy. But he said he still loves me, finds me attractive and all that, and that we are going to try to have more intimacy. So one of our ideas was to maybe go to bed early on one day, so that way neither of us are tired. Not going to bed covered in each other. We can take a shower after all that. Well, that brings me to this week. It has been over a month since we had that discussion. And I made the suggestion that, hey, why don't we try that going to bed early thing? He laughs at me, like he thinks it's a flirt, but it feels like a brush off. It felt totally shut down, and I drop it. The next day, he decides to take a nighttime shower before bed, which is odd, and I hear him tinkering on his phone, watching reels. Then it stops, and then I hear the moaning. After the shower, he comes into the bedroom actually quite happy and climbs into bed, and we read like we normally do. I go into the bathroom afterwards and confirm there is his underwear sitting on the bathroom floor with his fresh release. I go back to bed and lay there. I won't really let him touch me. I feel kind of betrayed and thought that I was putting up a semi-good front. But he asks what's wrong a couple of times, and I finally just say, "Next time, turn the volume down." And he responds with, "Okay." Then he rolls over and goes to sleep. Meanwhile, I get to reel about how utterly horrible I feel about myself, how ugly I must actually be to him, that I'm bad in bed, all the nasty things you tell yourself. I go out to the couch because I can't sleep and let the silent sobs on the couch carry me into a wrought slumber. I climb back into bed around 5. He wakes up at 5:30, hoping he hadn't noticed, but he did. Then I get a text this morning. "Honey, why did you sleep on the couch last night?" I just said I couldn't sleep and wanted to play on my phone. So I went out there and accidentally fell asleep on the couch. And he accepted it, because I can't tell him how he made me feel about myself, because I know I won't get anywhere anyways. I'm at the point of accepting a sexless relationship or walking away from it. And this is not the first time either that I caught him watching porn instead of wanting to touch me. I get it, men watch porn. I've even slightly turned to it myself because I get nothing from him. But it's the fact that we don't have a healthy intimacy life, and that he would turn towards that, than actually work on ours. Caught my 25-year-old boyfriend, 30 years old, watching porn, and our intimacy life is basically non-existent. We have tried to work on it, but I don't think it's fixable anymore when he turns towards porn and not me. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I was in a similar situation with an ex. We dated for 3 years when I was in my early 20s. I had to beg this guy to have intimacy with me, and he would oblige after I cried to him about it, which was about every 4 months. My self-esteem was crushed over and over again. I caught him watching porn in year 2 and confronted him about it. I caught him watching porn multiple times late at night. We discussed, and he agreed to stop watching to reset. The day after our discussion, I looked at his search history when getting home from work and found he started watching porn from the moment I left that day for hours. I don't know why I stayed for another year, but I did, and it was completely sexless. I cringed away at his touch. The damage was done. I wanted nothing to do with him physically. It took me ending things with him to realize just how much that relationship messed with my head. It's been about a decade, and I still struggle with intimacy in my relationships. Watching porn in the next room over from you is not normal, and your intimacy life will not improve unless he makes an intentional effort to address this addiction. The best thing you can do is advocate for yourself and stand firm on what you need and what you expect moving forward. I wish that I had. Comment 2. I had put myself on a Reddit hiatus to get some other stuff done, but had to log back in to address this. Most others are talking about a porn addiction. That's a possibility, but it's also possible that he's just not into you like that. It sounds like you're asking us to give you that final push to convince you to get out. That's my purpose for commenting here. Please go and visit our dead bedrooms and see what people who are 10 years further down the road in relationships like this go through. They often are forced to stay due to having kids together, or because they'd lose everything to divorce if they left. And yes, a lot of them are women, but they're miserable. You have no such things tying you down. If the kind of life those people talk about on that subreddit is your idea of a good time, by all means stay with them. But I'd suggest you get out and find someone who's actually excited about being with you. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. So, after that whole corn incident, things went from bad to worse. I thought maybe it was a one-off, but no, it's like a pattern now. He's always on his phone, and I'm not talking about scrolling through social media or texting his buddies. It's like he's got a secret life in that little device, and I'm just living in the shadows of it. A couple of weeks ago, I decided to confront him. I was tired of feeling like I was second best to a screen. So I asked him straight up if he was happy with our relationship, if he was seeing someone else, or if there was something he wasn't telling me. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Of course I love you. There's no one else." But the way he said it, it was like he was trying to convince himself more than me. Then, last week, my world got flipped upside down. I was at his place and he was in the shower. His phone buzzed with a message, and I saw a name I didn't recognize. Curiosity got the better of me, and I checked it. It was from a woman, and let's just say the texts weren't about the weather. They were planning to meet up that very night. I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I left his place before he got out of the shower and went home. I didn't hear from him for hours, which only confirmed my suspicions. When he finally called, he acted like nothing was wrong. He said he missed me and asked why I left so suddenly. I played it cool, said I wasn't feeling well. But inside, I was boiling with anger and hurt. I needed to know more. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. It sounds crazy, I know, but I had to see it for myself, and there it was, as clear as day. He met up with her, and they were laughing, touching, kissing. All the things he hadn't done with me in months. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. You want to look away, but you just can't. I didn't confront him. What was the point? He'd just lie into my face again. Instead, I went home and cried myself to sleep. The next day, he acted like everything was normal, asking me to come over like we were the perfect couple. I went, but only to get my things. I told him it was over, that I knew about her. He didn't even deny it. He just said, "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." I left him standing there, in the middle of his living room, with a look of shock on his face. I guess he never thought I'd have the guts to leave. But I did. It hurt like hell, but I did it. Now I'm trying to pick up the pieces of my life. It's hard, and some days I feel like I'm drowning in all the lies and betrayal. But I'm getting through it, one day at a time. I've started seeing a therapist, which helps. And I've reconnected with old friends who've been a great support. As for him, I heard through the grapevine that he's still with her. Part of me hopes he's happy, but another part hopes he gets a taste of his own medicine one day. I don't know if I believe in karma, but if it's real, he's got a storm coming his way. And that's where I'm at. Still trying to make sense of it all. Still trying to understand how I missed all the signs. But I'm moving forward, and that's what counts. Thanks for reading. My husband plays the burnout card while I work. Double shifts to keep us afloat. So I expose his lazy friend and kick them both out to teach them a lesson in responsibility and hard work. I want to start by saying I love this man very dearly, and he's the most kind-hearted man I know, and I do not wish to leave him. We got married 3 years ago and have been together for a total of 5 years. When we met, he had just finished his studies and started working. He was doing well at his workplace and got promoted unusually quickly. We always had separate finances, but I earned more, so I spent more on luxuries for us, which worked well. We moved countries for my job and got married. It's important to mention here that we moved to one of the most expensive countries in the world, where healthcare costs a lot of money. It's also a country with which he identifies culturally and with the language. We had visited once before making the decision. His company transferred him, and he did the exact same job, but now with a bigger scope, one support staff, and a salary 3 times larger. A few months in, he started complaining about stress at work. We talked through some ways to manage it, and he was doing better, but it kept coming back whenever there was a meeting. I asked him to get professional help and take some time off. He agreed and took 2 months, but pretty much wasted them lying around. I sent links to burnout centers, had him speak with a friend who went through something similar, and shared things that helped me manage my work stress. When he joined back, it was even worse. I told him burnout can last a lot longer, so he could either ask for that or just quit. He forced himself to go in so many times, and I hated seeing him like that. After a lot of contemplation, he decided to quit on the same day and stopped working altogether, even on his notice period. For the last year, he's been to multiple psychiatrists and got diagnosed with depression. He doesn't like any of them and keeps changing. He has been trying out meds, but says there has been no progress. He tried out multiple drugs to self-medicate and says those work for him somewhat. He does nothing else all day except get high on something and play games. He has not sincerely applied to any jobs, just a few to provide proof for unemployment benefits. He does help with housework, though, after our 50th fight. But he doesn't help with anything else. Social life, vacations, life planning, investments, household things. They all fall on me. He has always been a social, so I can't complain about that. And he doesn't like to travel much anymore either. When I do bring it up, he's receptive and patient. He always says the right things in the moment, but repeats them nauseatingly. And it's frustrating that he asks what he can help with, as though I am adulting with some manual and need to assign him tasks. I've shown examples of opportunities you can find yourself. If the door is broken, call the repairman. If the laundry basket is full, run the machine. And he will implement the examples I give, but that's all. And very recently, he made some tiny mistake carelessness, not malice, which leads to several big issues. It makes it even harder to get a job. It makes it impossible to get residence in this country, which I really needed to be able to change employers. And it makes it harder for us to change apartments. Also, he never finished his degree, not due to pure laziness. Just one exam was left. He said he didn't need it, but he keeps paying for new semesters and not completing it again. I think I am having to come to terms with him never having a job again. So now I'm paying through my nose for all the treatments which aren't even working, while cutting back on my medical needs or other desires, with no end in sight. I can afford this barely, but I also take care of my aging parents, and it just feels so unfair to have nothing left for myself despite working so hard. I was on an early retirement path, but that seems impossible with this situation. My job is also stressful. I've struggled with depression and anxiety too, but I never had someone to depend on like he does. I feel like he's taking me for granted. I don't want to resent him for having it so easy, where he can just up and quit his job the same day and have no downgrades to his lifestyle. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It's not unkind to express to your partner that you still expect them to act as a partner in the relationship. Sit down and talk out a feasible plan that you both find agreeable regarding his short and medium-term future, and then hold him accountable to that plan. If the plan includes finding mental health care and sticking with a mental health care provider for therapy and medication within 2 months, that 2-month deadline is his responsibility to achieve. If the plan involves identifying 5 job leads daily and applying to 5 jobs a week, that's what his job is, and so on. And if things continue to go in the way he seems to want them to go, realize that he's not actually a kind-hearted man, because a kind-hearted man would not put in less than the minimal effort, even when faced with clear evidence that in doing so, he is hurting the person closest to him. Comment 2. I would suggest marriage counseling to communicate your needs to each other with a professional present. You can come up with a plan together where both of your expectations are met. Depression can be a lifelong diagnosis, and for a lot of people, the hardest part of it is learning how to manage and cope. He has to learn how to cope with these feelings if he wants to be the partner that you deserve. And you deserve someone who is just as kind and giving as you are. You deserve someone who actively works towards healing themselves so that they can be a better partner. He is so lucky that he has someone who is so patient and understanding of his situation. I hope he finds his path of healing soon, before you realize you can't be his lifelong caregiver. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, things have taken a turn. Remember how I mentioned my husband's tiny mistake? Well, it turns out it wasn't so tiny. He had been handling our visa paperwork, and I trusted him with it because, well, he had more time on his hands. But he messed up, big time. The paperwork was submitted late, and now we're in a legal mess. It's not just about changing jobs or apartments anymore. We're talking about the possibility of deportation. And the worst part? He kept it from me until the last possible moment. I've been scrambling to fix this, hiring lawyers and sorting through mountains of paperwork. Meanwhile, he's been as helpful as a screen door in a submarine. He's apologetic, sure, but it's always the same old song and dance. He promises to be more proactive, to take care of things. But then he's back on the couch, controller in hand, lost in his games. And here's where it gets really twisted. I found out that one of my so-called friends, let's call her Ms. Helpful, has been whispering in his ear. She's been feeding him ideas about how the stress of work and the pressure I put on him to contribute are what drove him to his current state. She's been playing the caring friend to him, all the while sowing seeds of doubt and discord between us. I should have seen it coming. She always had a way of making drama out of thin air, but it doesn't stop there. Ms. Helpful has been suggesting alternative treatments to him, expensive retreats, and holistic nonsense that's draining our finances even more. And he's been lapping it up, thinking it's the magic cure he's been looking for. I've been too caught up in the legal issues to notice the money slipping through our fingers. Now, I'm not just fighting to keep us in the country. I'm fighting to keep our marriage afloat. I've been working overtime, trying to make up for the financial sinkhole we're in, all while Ms. Helpful plays the innocent friend. I've confronted her, but she denies everything with a smile, and my husband? He's clueless, thinking she's just looking out for him. To top it all off, I found out he's been lying about his degree. He never even enrolled in those new semesters he claimed to be paying for. It was all a cover. He's been using that money to fund his escapades with Ms. Helpful's recommended treatments. I'm beyond furious, but I can't even bring myself to confront him about it. I'm too tired, too worn down by the constant battles. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, I got a call from my parents. They need more financial help than ever before. Their health is declining, and the costs are skyrocketing. I'm stretched thinner than I ever thought possible. I'm trying to be there for them, for my husband, for myself. But it feels like I'm failing everyone. I'm starting to wonder if I'm the one being played here. Is my husband really that oblivious, or is he just using his condition as an excuse to avoid responsibility? And Ms. Helpful, with her sweet talk and her concern, is she just waiting to watch it all crumble? I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm holding on by a thread, trying to salvage what's left of my life and my dignity. But it's hard, so hard, when every day brings a new disaster, a new betrayal. I'm not sure how much more I can take. Thanks for reading this far. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.